Okay, hi guys and welcome to PHP tutorial number 2. In the first tutorial, as you may remember, we created this basic website here. No, whoops, not that, this. So we just had hello world, and we had installed XAMPP and everything to make this run. So now what we want to do is create a very simple login system. So the first thing we want to do actually is I just want to center this because yeah, I'm kind of insane about having this centered. Okay, so now it's centered. You don't have to do that. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is create a text box for logging in. So above the centered dialog, you want to put in input type equals text and name equals user, and then /input to close that. And then we also let's just take a look at that and make sure that it works. So we hit F5 and there we go, and let's actually put that underneath the hello world. So just Control X, oops, there we go. Okay, and now we need to put in a button. So what we want to do is do input type equals submit name equals this doesn't really matter, enter input. Okay, so now we get this button and this, and we can actually just break the line there so that it'll be under. What did I just do? I'm not quite sure. There we go. Okay, so as you can see, basically we've just created an input with the type text, so that's just the text box, and then we've named it user. And actually we can, whoops, wrong key. Okay, if you hit F12, I'm pretty sure when you look at this, we can see, yeah, so you can see the code, and it uses the name user. So that's the name of the object. So this text box is basically named user. And we could also create a password box if we want to. So type in input type equals, I think it's password, name equals pass input. Let's just see if that worked. And basically, yeah, so that just dots out the characters for us. So it's the same process, except under type we type in password, and that gives us a password box. So this is pretty good, but currently when we hit this button, nothing happens. Now the best way to do this so that something happens is to use forms. And basically, to use a form, we say form action equals, and this is where you type what you want, what page you want it to go to when you click the button, and then method. You won't always need this, but for now we do. We're gonna say post, and basically that's going to post the variables that we have here into the PHP script, and you'll understand that in a second. So let's type in login.php. Now, right now if we do this, object not found, because login.php does not exist. And you can, well, I don't really like the way they give you the errors because they're not that useful, but yeah. But of course we know that we haven't created login.php yet, so that's the first thing we need to do. So hit Control N or just create a new one, and let's just put in our PHP open and close statements. So that's how you start and end a PHP program, with those things. And then let's just save it as login.php, and make sure you're saving it in the same folder as index.html, which is your htdocs folder. So as you can see, we now have our login.php file. So now we hit submit, and it goes here, but nothing happens yet. So what we want to do is we need to go to login.php, and we want to get the value from user, which is that object, and password. So let's do that. So we want to type in, so once you put in these open and close PHP things, we want to create a new variable. Now in PHP, you don't actually have to declare the variable. Well, at least as a certain type. Basically, if we type in user equals hello, and then we type in echo user. Okay, and so a few things to note in PHP. You need to put the semicolons at the end of each statement, and also this echo command basically just prints this variable. So this variable user has been set to hello, and PHP is pretty smart because it automatically assumes that if you've used something inside of these quotation marks, then it's going to be a string. Or if we type in number equals 64, wow, I can't even type. It should automatically assume that it's an integer. So let's just try this. So we hit submit, and it says 64 hello. So that's just a good thing to note in PHP. It's always going to automatically set the variable type. And as you guys can probably tell, I'm assuming you know how basic programming works, and if you don't, you should probably watch some of my other tutorials on that. But for now, hopefully you understand that basically variables just store information and you can reset them to whatever you want. So for this one, what we want to do is we need to get the text from this text box, which is named user. So we want to type in, let's create a new variable user equals. Now, this is something that you have to just sort of memorize, because there's no simple way to get why it works. But, well, I mean, it's complicated, but basically we're setting this variable user equal to, so you have to do $_post. Now, because we set the method here to post, basically we just need to use that, and then you use brackets, and then inside here we type in the object name. So that's user. So let's just type that in. User, semicolon. And just to make sure that this is actually working, let's echo user, semicolon. Okay. So, and as you can see, I typed in Hirsh here, but if I type in hello world and hit submit, that's what's printed. So that's pretty good. There's also another way we can do this. Rather than using the post method, we can use get, and it goes through a very similar process, but basically this is considered less secure for passwords and things, because when you hit submit, actually never mind, don't do that. Actually, I'm not going to show that to you. But basically, if you use the get method, it'll put the text in the URL. But so we usually don't use that because it's just not as secure. But let's just make sure this is still working. So yes, it is. Okay, but so that's good. But we also need to get your password. So let's create a new variable pass equals, so $_post bracket quotation marks, and let's see, what did we name the variable? We named it pass. So let's just type that in. Pass. And generally you're not going to want to do this, but we just need to make sure it's working, so we're going to echo pass and hello world and world hello. So yeah, so world was my password and hello was my username. So yeah, that worked. But now what we want to do is say if like, let's say if your username is Hirsh and your password is 123, then we're going to say welcome Hirsh. And if it's something else, then we're going to say error incorrect username or password. So let's do that. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to want to use something called an if loop. Now, if you have, if you know about programming, you'll know basically an if loop checks to see if something is true, and if it is, then it'll execute one command, and if it's not, it'll execute another command. So let's say if user is equal to Hirsh, and then for and you, whoops, what did I just do? For and you want to use these two and signs. Pass is equal to, and I'll explain all of this in a second. 1, 2, 3, and okay. So basically, what this says is if user, which is this variable, is equal to Hirsh, and the reason you use two equal signs is because you use one to set something and you use two to check it. Because we're checking to see if it's equal to Hirsh, we have to use two. And the spacing doesn't really matter, I just do that to make stuff look neat. And so it's kind of similar, but you just need to use two ands, and then password is equal to 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to say inside here this is going to be executed. So let's type in echo welcome. So type this in, and because it wasn't equal, it's not. Okay, so we type, sorry guys, that was probably a little confusing what I just said. But basically, so we go to the form and we type in Hirsh 1, 2, 3, and we hit submit, and it says welcome. But if we type in something else, like FSDA and then random stuff, we say it doesn't give us anything. So we can assume that this part's working, but we still don't know if the other part is working. So let's type in something else for if you get it wrong. Actually, now I think it would be, well, no. I guess we could. I guess, no. I'm trying to figure out what I should do, but we'll just go with something simple for now. So we'll say echo incorrect login, and semicolon class. So now we type in random stuff, and it says incorrect login. We type in Hirsh 1, 2, 3, and it says welcome. So that is basically how you create a simple login form using PHP and HTML. Now, I'm just going to show you quickly here what you can do. So this is a new program that I'm working on, and basically this is what I'm going to eventually show you how to do. It's going to give you this login form, and it's going to give you the ability to register a new account. So basically this checks all of this data against a database, and if it exists, it'll bring you to the correct form, which is this, and if it doesn't exist, then it gives you to this. So that's what we're going to be hoping to make it to eventually. So yeah, that should be pretty good. But for now, I think this is where I'm going to end this tutorial. In the next tutorial, we'll work on having this bring you to something a little bit more interesting, and we'll work on formatting this so everything looks a little bit nicer. So thank you very much for watching this tutorial. My name's Hirsh Agarwal, and I'll see you in my next video.